Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like to first recognize the guest of honor, Mr. Chipunza. I think we also have the headmaster, Mr. Mjeni, the CEO, and the directors. I also want to recognize the SGC chairman and all the parents and students who are here. So I want to start with a story. There was 70 years ago, there was a camp. Army soldiers were there. So this guy decided to construct a statue. So a statue was constructed. Then the commander actually said 3 soldiers are supposed to guard that statue. Then they started guarding that statue. But before a month had ended, the commander was redeployed somewhere else. Then a new commander took over. Then the culture of guarding that statue continued. So they said the first commander came in, he was removed from that camp, still guarding that statue. But the reason why the first commander had given an instruction to guard the statue was because the statue was wet. But for next 100 years, every commander was coming in and out. They would still deploy soldiers to guard that statue, morning, evening, still guarding that statue. Until this other commander said, no, let us get into the archives. Why are we still guarding this statue? Then he noticed that the first commander had deployed soldiers because the statue was wet. So what I want to ask you, I think I had an opportunity to just see the people who are being awarded here. I like they are awarding mathematics, they are awarding English, they are awarding fashion and fabrics, they are awarding agriculture. But aren't we guarding a statue? The world of AI, who are we rewarding in terms of technology? The world we are, whereby we can see most of the people, they are making it through music. Who are we rewarding? Who is the next job praiser coming from Innovate? Aren't we still guarding a statue? We have got entrepreneurs in here. I'm very happy to see Mr. Munyaradzi Gwatidzo in the crowd. Who is the next Munyaradzi Gwatidzo coming from Innovate? Who is going to be the next entrepreneur, the best entrepreneur? So what I'm just saying to you is, I have an opportunity to employ young people. I like working with young people. I employ 70 of them in Zambia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. And what I want to tell you is, I once employed a PA with a master's degree. When I was having a meeting, a Zoom meeting, she didn't know how to operate Zoom. I'm telling her to send a message on a chat box. She canceled the whole Zoom meeting. So don't we have kids who are in here? Instead of us being told how to write emails, instead of us being taught how to operate Word, to operate Excel, we're still guarding the statue, doing Pythagoras theorem, labeling the locusts. Our education system has been designed in such a way whereby it rewards those who can remember more and penalize the creatives. Aren't we still guarding the statue? Right now, I don't think probably that's the criteria which was being used. Our education system, we are having the whole term reading notes, reading textbooks, cramming. Then they pass. Immediately they forget. Aren't we rewarding the people who are forgetting and punishing the creatives? Aren't we still guarding the statue? So I'm challenging. I'll tell you part of my small story. I went to my Marist Brothers Nyanga. I went to Hartzel High School. I passed. I had 11 subjects. I didn't have a C, I had B's and A's. But soon after my A-level, my parents couldn't send me to university, although I had found a place at MSU, but I couldn't get into the university. I saw myself in Harare doing CIS, but for me to do the CIS, I was supposed to be paying my own fees. That's how I saw myself in the streets of Glenview, selling sweets, selling bananas. I was beaten 43 times under my foot because I had ran away with airtime. I was arrested more than 40 times as a vendor. It was my first time. When I grew up, I wanted to be an accountant. I'm glad I'm an accountant, I'm a public accountant by profession, although I'm now a sales trainer, a sales professional by calling. So I saw myself in the streets, trying to sell, trying to negotiate a deal, but in schools, no one had taught me how to sell. I started learning about financial literacy at the age of 20. I need to budget. I need to send myself to school. I need to pay rentals. No one had taught me that in school. That's how I came up with this book, which is called The Chartered Vendor. The Chartered Vendor simply means the reason why the chartered is small. I'm a chartered secretary by qualification as well. The chartered is small because I'm saying I learned little in school, but I learned a lot in the streets. So what I'm challenging the school is, why can't we start introducing sales in Form 1, in Grade 1? Why can't we start introducing financial literacy at a tender age? We have a full subject of financial literacy. Right now we've got managers, we've got professors, we've got doctors, many people, even probably in the government, who don't even know about financial literacy for themselves. How are they going to budget the whole budget for the country? So I want to ask you, I know we've got parents here. When we grew up ourselves in the rural areas of Watsomba, I was taught that you're not supposed to touch money. Immediately when you handle money, when you're a man, you're called a thief. When you try to probably say, I want the $50 when you're a lady, you know what you call them. So I want to challenge, what about giving your kids $100? What about if they start knowing how to budget the $100? What about if they start knowing how to budget $1,000? What about if they start knowing how to budget $10,000? Not to have kids who have been impregnated because why? They don't know anything about money. Some of them, they are getting into trouble because of pizza. They're getting into trouble because they can't drive. So I want to challenge the education system and say, why can't the so-called soft skills, they start being taught in schools? Personally, I was also gifted, I used to play basketball. I saw a basketball coach somewhere. Why can't we have our next Michael Jordan from Africa coming from Wino? Why can't we also have the next Chione Somarere coming from this room? So I'm challenging the education system. Yes, I told you that I started learning things when I was a vendor and it was confusing. I don't want these kids to also go through the same route. But some of them, they are here because their parents are still alive. Some are still here because their parents are still occupied, they're still working. But you don't know what life is. You know life changes. Sometimes you wake up, we don't even have anything to do. As you can see, our economy, I think when our parents, they went to school, it was obvious that soon after A-level, you get into university, you're already even catering for your family. But it's different these days. We now have plenty of universities. I think we used to have one law school, but right now I think we've got 3 or 4 universities offering law. It simply means that there's a lot of competition. Is our industry growing? It's not also growing. You might find yourself in the streets like Jerry. You might find yourself selling. You might find yourself as an entrepreneur. So I'm saying, why can't we start teaching entrepreneurship at a tender age? Right now, I strongly believe that the reason why Africa is poor, why Zimbabwe is poor, is not because what we think. It's because of our mindset. It's because what we are still learning is different from what they are learning in Europe. Whilst these guys we are still being taught how to cram, how to pass, and we forget. These guys, they're teaching each other about AIs, they are planning to land on Mars. Whilst you are still thinking about, I think everyone here remembers during COVID, we were waiting for a vaccine from somewhere. We waited for a vaccine from India, from China, from Europe. But with the so-called educated people in Africa, we failed to produce any vaccine. Why? We are still guarding the statue. So we need to change the narrative as Africans. Why can't we still teach? We teach our kids how to operate social media at this tender age. We might have our next Madam Boss coming from this crew. It's a profession. She's living a better life than most of the CEOs because she's a socialite. We've got that TikToker, I think his name is Kabilame. He's a multi-millionaire. Why? Because he's a socialite. He can share a podium with Ronaldo's, your Beckhams, because he's a socialite. So why can't we start teach our people how to use social media, how to create content? Even as a country, we've got good content. We've got a lot of wonderful places. Sometimes when you get into Gonarejo, you're shocked. You get to Kariba, you're shocked. We've got these beautiful places in Zimbabwe because why? We've got people who are occupying sometimes positions who cannot create content. Why? They are always taught mathematics. They are always taught English. They are taught science. They are taught geography. Why? We are still guarding a statue. So I'm just challenging the school. Why can't we be different? Why can't we start having research centers? Why can't, right now we've got engineers who can hardly manufacture a scissors. Right now we've got doctors, medical doctors, probably in Zimbabwe, best medical doctors in Zimbabwe. They took care of us when it was COVID time, but when they get into America, they are told that no, you're not qualified to be a doctor here. Go back to the medical school for a year or two. Why? Aren't we still guarding a statue? Whilst they are using robots to operate an injured leg, we are still using manual. Why? Because we are still guarding a statue. Our schools also, they've taught us about competition, not collaboration. Hence, we still have 45 years old, 35 years old, your parents are competing. Who is driving a better car? Why we are still guarding a statue? Why can't, as Winwood, we start having groups of pupils learning together and produce something which is significant? They can start their projects, probably start even a company. How to read? Right now, I tell you, we've got legal practitioners who have graduated with flying colors, but they don't know how to register a company. Then they'll end up being your advisors. That's why they can easily accompany you to what? To jail. Why? It's not their fault. We're still guarding a statue. So I want to challenge everyone. I want to challenge the parents. I know what I've said, I've wronged many people. We've got our so-called education 5.0. I don't believe in that thing. I still think that thing is guarding a statue. We need to change our mentality. If someone is doing fashion, why can't they start producing garments whilst they are still in Form 2. When someone is doing agriculture, instead of doing theory, why can't they start producing something for the school? We cannot have vegetables coming from somewhere whilst we've got students who are studying agriculture. I've wrote this book which is called Selling Like a Vendor, and I'm saying I want to train at least 1 million Africans, because I strongly believe that the reason why we are failing is because most of us, we don't know how to sell. We don't know how to sell ourselves. We don't know how to pitch. When you're called for an interview, you don't even know what to say. So sales becomes very important. Right now, I've got someone who's dreaming to be a doctor. Good, after 7 years, you've qualified as a doctor, but you might find yourself owning a surgery. And the first person who you need in that surgery is a patient. And the patient is a customer. Who are you now? You are now a salesperson. You might be a lawyer. You might be a banker. The first person who you need in your company is a customer. So I'm saying, what about if we start teaching sales at Winwood? We start teaching sales at a tender age. Not theory. We need to give them something to sell. Because I've said it. At least to give some people, at least probably their target is 100 books. They're supposed to be selling 100 books. If they sell 75, it's an A. If they sell less than 50, it's a fail. Because that's how practical these subjects are in the land of China, America, UK. We need to change. Remember, guys, we need to stop guarding the statue. We need to change our mindset. Because everything starts in the mind. They start as thoughts. They become feelings. They're transformed to actions. Then they become results. So if we need results, let us change the narrative. We need to change the way we think. We need to change Africa. I don't believe that Africa is going to be changed by politicians. I believe that Africa is going to be changed by you and me. If we employ one person, we've changed Africa. If we change the way we think, we've changed Africa. We cannot wait. We need it to happen now. So guys, remember, let us stop guarding the statue. Thank you.